Hello there and welcome to today's mod showcase. Today we're showcasing Australian ships. Australian? Yes, it's a mod, and until the developers add more ships, we have thankfully modders that will add more ships. So, what new ships does the Australian Navy get through the mod? Well, we have the Adelaide for starters. The Adelaide is an Oliver Hazard Perry class. It's pretty much that, but the Australian Navy had it in service as the Adelaide class. Now, I've looked pretty hard to try and find any difference between these ships. Maybe a little later they will get a difference, because I believe that these Oliver Hazard Perrys and the Adelaides used slightly different machine guns and some other minor change, but that's not really currently in the game. As for stats, they're exactly the same, but at least you can say, hey, this is now finally an Australian ship. It does give the Australians a very good ship, because I personally like the Oliver Hazard Perry. It's very versatile, it has some defensive missiles, it has some offensive missiles, you have your Mark 46 torpedoes, you got your 76mm gun for shore bombardment with 5,000 rounds, so you can definitely do some damage. You have a bunch of shells for the Sea Whiz, you have some noisemakers and chaff, and of course you have your helicopters. Those are very handy to have and definitely, well, massively expand the capabilities of this ship. Again, there's not a whole lot of difference between Adelaide and Oliver Hazard Perry, but at least we can now say that we have one. On to the next, the Perth. What about the Perth class? Well, the Perth is essentially an Adams. The Australian Navy copied / used the design from the Adams, so let's have a look at the comparison between these ships. You can again see that they're pretty similar, but there is one notable difference between these two ships. The Adams class has the RUR-5. This is the ASROC. They have a range of 6 miles, and that means you can airdrop a torpedo at 6 miles. The Ikara weapon system that the Australians have is slightly different. It does have a lower maximum velocity, but it trades that for a higher range. The Ikara and, well, the mod as a whole is heavily work in progress, so I believe that the stats are still very much subject to change. But this is apparently a native weapon system, the Ikara, that is basically an improved version of the ASROC. So you still launch a Mark 46 torpedo, but it has well, it doesn't have double the range, it has almost double the range. And this is nice, you can radio command it for a mid-course correction, which is something that the ASROC does not have. The ASROC is basically a big rocket booster with a torpedo strapped to it, and this one apparently still has some fins that allow it to steer onto a better position. I'm not sure if that is actually modeled in the game, so let's see if I want to fire in a car. I'm going to launch it there. Can I actually mid-course correct this weapon? Yes, I can. Look at that. That is neat. This thing can shift. Okay, so that is definitely a nice upgrade to have over the RUR-5. As for the range, I think that's very good. Some of the Soviet submarines don't have as much range. And if you are using an ASROC, it usually means that either you have no other options, i.e. you have no helicopter available to actually intercept and drop torpedoes from afar. And then again, if you are within ASROC range, pretty much everything else has gone horribly wrong. Because it means that not only has your helicopter failed, but you also failed to detect the submarine early enough to stay outside of its torpedo range. And apparently with the Ikara, you don't have that problem. You can just keep it very far away. I mean, 10 miles is pretty good. Some nuclear boats will still outmatch you with a torpedo like that. But hey, at least once you spot the torpedoes, once you listen in to them, you can get these torpedoes away very, very quickly. The Ikara has remarkably good range. Okay, so that is the Perth class. On to the Fremantle. The Fremantle, I think, is not properly armed at this point. Actually, no, it is. Never mind. It has a 40mm, and it has a couple of dual 50 cal machine guns. So, not really going to be a weapon that you use in direct offensive actions against larger warships. You might, however, use it to patrol the waters. You might use your machine guns to, I don't know, impress pirates, keep the area around Somalia safe, stuff like that. So in this case, well, actually, maybe you can do a little more with that. If you got those Iranian fast attack boats that are coming at you with, let's say, a rocket pod salvo, maybe these things can actually be a decent response. Are they fast? No, they can do 34 knots. I guess it's okay. It's not 40 knots, it's not 43 knots or 48 knots like a Pegasus can do. But hey, it's fast enough. Now, the Fremantle were coastal patrol vessels, there you are, by the Royal Australian Navy. And they were up to service into 2007. Interesting. Constructed in Australia and designed by Brook Marine, the Fremantle class were larger, more powerful, more capable than the preceding attack class. And the two primary patrol boat bases were required infrastructure upgrades to support them. They only had 15 out of the 30 ordered vessels. I think it's rare if the Navy goes over the planned amount of ships or boats of any particular class. They always seem to cut down on them. So, we've had the Adelaide, we've had the Perth, we've had the Fremantle. Now, there is also the Daring. The Daring is here. This is very much work in progress, apparently. And it does feature a pretty distinct type of ship. It is definitely something else than what we've seen so far. The Daring features the Squid mortar, anti-submarine mortar with only 0.3 miles. It is a vintage anti-submarine warfare from World War II. Keep in mind, the Darings, I think, were introduced in 1957. Yeah, alpha version, not realistic. This is what you're going to have with mods. They were entering in service in the 1950s. 8 ships were constructed for the Royal Navy and 3 ships for the Royal Australian Navy. 2 of the RN destroyers were subsequently sold and served in the Peruvian Navy. As for other weapons that you have on this ship, you got the Mark 9, and that's the torpedo. It is short-ranged, only 5.3, has no guidance whatsoever. It's basically another World War II, well, let's say relic, because you can't guide this thing, and basically it's a dumbfire that you just hope and hits something. Just launch it and hope and hit after that. It also comes with a 40mm, so definitely capable of going after some targets. I think the rate of fire is going to be pretty good. And we have the 4.5 inchers. That's the big turrets that you can see over there. These things are capable of going after aircraft as well as surface targets at a range of 10.24. So arguably, if you got a patrol boat coming in from the Iranian Navy with rocket pods, maybe this would be a better option than just relying upon stuff such as the Fremantle. Of course, this is far cheaper to field, but hey, this is definitely going to send a bigger message. Do they have anything else? They got active sonar, they got no towed arrays, you got no helicopters. Of course, you're not going to really have that. As for their sensors, they got an air search out to 37 kilometers. I mean, that's cute. It's a World War II World War II era short-range air search radar. Yeah, it makes sense. This is definitely an early, I'd say early game ship to use. But hey, it's Australian. And now we have it in the game. As for the other units that we have, there are 2 submarines. We have 2 Oberon classes. This one is the base Oberon class. It's a guided missile submarine. Sorry, that might make this one the base one. Yes. One is the patrol submarine. So this is definitely more capable at patrolling and just doing damage with the Mark 48s. How many weapons do we carry? We carry 16. And over here we carry 16 torpedoes and we get the harpoons. Nice addition. Makes these things far more capable at long-ranging weapon. Well, let's say a more ranging weapon at 65 miles. So with that, against surface targets, you can definitely go to town. However, like most submarines, you do have a bit of a restriction. Well, it's not as bad with this class. You can launch 6, because you got 6 tubes. And that is definitely going to be helpful in pushing these things out the tubes quickly. It is, however... Hold on. Yeah, it's a diesel electric. So you're going to have to snorkel from time to time in order to make sure you don't extend, or you don't you don't deplete all of your batteries. That is something worthy of note. Now, these Oberon classes were also added as Royal Navy class, with the Tigerfish guided torpedo. That's a wire-guided torpedo. And the Royal Canadian Navy also gets the Oberon with the Mark 37 guided torpedoes. So it's not just Australian ships. Unfortunately, no towed array on this particular ship. We are surfaced, so we don't need to worry about snorkeling. But if you are going to be using these ships, or sorry, these boats in a, let's say, a combat scenario, and you are running a little lower on your batteries, you do want to have them topped up. In such a case, just make sure that you raise the snorkel mast, and you'll be able to start recharging your batteries. That is, if they have a snorkel mast. There we go. I had to be underwater. I had to be submerged in order to use snorkel. There's snorkel mast. As for Mark 48s, well, you know those from the game. Very capable torpedoes, 20 miles out and 50 knots fast. These things are wire guided. You have lots of options with these torpedoes. That means that these sneaky buggers are definitely capable of hitting quite hard. Especially as they're diesel electric, you won't really get that much warning, if any. And as opposed to a diesel electric boat, as opposed to a nuke boat, these things can just be dead in the water. They can just be silent when they're all stopped. And, well, you won't hear a thing. Of course, if you're snorkeling, yeah, they'll probably be making some noise. But once I retract that snorkel mast and go all stop, you might not notice that these things are here. So, that's it for a quick showcase of the Royal Australian Navy ships. The mod is work in progress, like most mods are. I like seeing more of these, let's say, nation mods, because it does add a lot of flavor to the game. It means you can also do more different scenarios. I have already seen a Spanish mod, and I'll be reviewing that soon. So, thank you to the mod author for his work on building the mods, changing the ships, investigating what weapon systems they should have, and then consequently putting those on. I really appreciate it, and I hope you do too. You want to get the mod? Linked down below in the description. And if you have any mods that you think I should review, by all means, let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon for more.